I wanted to write a saxophone quartet and I wanted to use modelled instruments. And the two big names out there for that seem to be Swam from audio modelling and vHorns from Acoustic Samples. Swam offers a 2-week trial, but vHorns doesn't. So it's actually not possible to do the same piece on the two different instruments and compare them before buying. That would have been really useful, or it would have been at least useful to see someone else having done that. But I didn't find anything like that out there, and that's what we're doing now. So by the end of this video, you'll have seen at least some sections of a piece in both of those two different samples. At the time, I didn't know anything about saxophones. I'd never written for them before. I wasn't even confident to know how realistic a set of saxophone samples were. So I put out for some guidance on the forums. I used Reddit, I used VI Control, but the responses were quite mixed. A lot of people seemed to favour vHorns, saying that they were more realistic, but it wasn't universal, and there were a few voices for Swam as well. So I still wasn't really sure. I got the Swam trial and started writing the piece, and I wrote most of the piece in the trial, but then based on people's responses and various reviews and the samples on vHorns' website, I decided to take the plunge and buy vHorns, and I sort of readjusted all of the MIDI programming so that I've got a version of the piece in both instruments now. So I'm going to play a short extract of the piece now, first in Swam and then in vHorns, and you can see for yourselves which you feel is the better version. So to me, based on this extract, vHorns is clearly the winner. It sounds much more realistic, and next to each other, I feel that the Swam sounds quite synthetic. The vHorns also seems to have better clarity and separation, so you can hear the harmonies better, and it's just a more pleasing experience. But now listen to this other extract of the piece from a little bit later on, where it's just a little bit livelier. So from this extract, for me, vHorns are still clearly the better option, but some of their limitations are starting to show. So for example, Swam might sound more synthetic as an instrument, but it's also more expressive, and you can sort of hear within it the fun that the players would be having to play something like this. Whereas vHorns, although it's clearer, and it's high quality sounds, and it sounds much more realistic, it seems to be much more limited in its range of expression and seems to be more optimized for laid back music. And you can see this again in the end part of the piece. So this is important because at least the way I write, I sort of take the feedback from the sounds that I'm getting as I'm writing. So if the sounds are more expressive, then I'm going to be writing differently than if the sounds are more laid back. So I don't know if I would have written the same piece if I was using vHorns from the start, and it will be interesting to see how future pieces develop. But I just thought it would be really useful to put the two VSTs side by side, because that would have been really useful for me when I was starting to do this and starting to choose between them. You can hear both versions of the piece on this web page, which is linked in the description, and you can see a score video of the final version here on this YouTube channel. We'll be back at some point soon looking at the modes and how to use them intuitively.